Hi, Cancer. Welcome to your December 2019 Astro Update. It's Reina here. Um, I'm saying welcome to December, and here we are almost finishing the first week of it. But I was sidetracked with a cold and, flu, cold, whatever. And I'm on the upswing, but I'm a little bit still hoarse in voice. So bear with me, please. And um, there's like two specific influences for you in the month of December, Cancer. The first one being the Sagittarian energy, which is sixth house for you. I think Cancers are very much at home with the sixth house. This is the house that Virgo rules in the universal chart, so it's dealing with practical matters. It's an earth house because Virgo is an earth sign. It's the house of work, your service to others, as well as, health matters, and also pets. I never really mentioned that too often. So, in any case, the sun is in this sector until the solstice time. I wish I could just say winter solstice, but there are people that are experiencing the summer, so. But solstice on the 21st, and so the sun is there, and that makes you kind of like a temporary Virgo. And I think that's why I think that you can slip into that role fairly easily because I think you're the kind of person who is just very into order. It's funny. I would like to explore this further. Cancer rules the fourth house of home and family. In the chart, it's the fourth house, and there is a numerological connection. It's not just randomly the fourth house. The number four is about order and foundation, which of course we would see with homes. But the sixth house of Virgo is also connected to these kinds of issues. So, in astrology, the sign most likely to be into that kind of organization would be associated with that. But I would say they're certainly not the only sign that I associate with discipline and organization. So there may be something specific related to health or work matters that is consuming you to the extent that you are really absorbed in it, with the sun there being that central theme. And we already have Jupiter has gone into Capricorn on the second of the month, which is your opposite sign. So it's the seventh house. And so that's the other area that is going to be featured, the house of committed partnership, whether it be like a marriage partner, a live-in partner, a monogamous partner, or just one-on-one relationships, clients, any type of relationship that you have with individuals, as well as legal matters. That's the seventh house. Jupiter, having entered this sector, means that if you work for yourself, you may have a lot more clients. You never know. I mean, Jupiter can expand things. Jupiter can create luck or just, alignment, whatever you want to call it. If you have legal cases, maybe they'll go your way. Just an abundance of clients. What else? It might be a great year for meeting people that are marriage material. Not saying that you'll. I when I use the word marriage, I feel like I'm, I feel like June Cleaver or something. I don't mean that it has to be, legal marriage. I think you know what I mean, but a committed relationship. So then on the 9th, which is really exciting, finally I'm talking about something that's actually in the future. Mercury goes into Sag, out of its shadow a day before. We've had that Mercury retrograde that was, I felt from the bowels of hell, that occurred in the first few weeks of November. And so it did take time for it to get out of its shadow. And, you can see the proof of that, the second week in December. And Mercury goes into that sixth house. And so Mercury rules that sixth house with Virgo. This can be like diet situations. Perhaps, like you're researching a diet. You are speaking to health practitioners about your health for some reason. Maybe you're looking for a job and you're interviewing. And there's a lot of, talking or just, like communicating back and forth, who knows. But that area is activated with Mercury there joining the Sun. And on the 11th or the 12th, depending on where you live, there's a full moon at 19 degrees of Gemini. Interestingly, Gemini is the other sign besides Virgo that is ruled by Mercury. And in your particular case, Gemini is your 12th house, which is really cool for you, Cancer, because that means that this is going to be a very mystical full moon. And as I record this, is like a week away, around a week away, And so the 12th house can be your dream life. The full moon can be a time you're ruled by the moon. So the moon is always something that's never probably far from your thoughts. And there might be this sense that something is being revealed to you from your subconscious or unconscious mind, because that's the 12th house too. This is a great time to let go of bad habits. It's really interesting. It may come up as a dream where you see how something has been affecting your life. And sometimes when it's illustrated in a dream, it makes it much more impactful. 12th house is the house of self-undoing. Those areas where we tend to self-sabotage. So the full moon can bring something to heightened awareness, and then you can release it. That actually, the people, I'm not like a pagan or anything, but people who are, and I don't think you have to be, but those kinds of rituals or practices that are around the moon, whatchamacallits, position. Sorry, I'm a little spaced out. But you know what I mean. The different moon positions or phases. That was the word I was looking for. The full moon is a time for releasing things that don't serve you any longer. On the 20th, Venus goes into Aquarius, and now you're looking at Venus in the 8th house. So that's an area that Venus, I guess, has been in Capricorn until, for the first 3 weeks of the month. And in that 7th house, and, with Jupiter there, that can be very good for any kind of gain financially through a lawsuit or through a partnership of some sort. or I shouldn't say just a lawsuit, but a legal matter. And then you have Venus in the eighth house, and this is connected to other people's money, shared resources, and, probate matters, so wills and things like that. So there might have been some connection there where you're getting money from an estate or what have you. And on the 21st is a solstice time, sun going into a cardinal sign. Solstice, equinox, the seasons. In this case, it is a solstice, but sun going into Capricorn, and so because of this is your seventh house, and that can be very good for relationships to be on track. The sun has so many positive effects. First of all, you may be putting your emphasis, your energy in a certain area that has to do with your significant other, and that can enhance the relationship. Just warmness, positivity, and so on and so forth. Affection. When I say warmness, I'm talking about affection. A few days later, we have a solar eclipse in this same area. This is on the 25th, so on Christmas or the day after, depending on where you live, at 4 degrees of Capricorn, forming a conjunction with Jupiter at 5 degrees of Capricorn, as well as a trine with Taurus at 2 degrees of Taurus. This can lead to some kind of new beginning that is, let me see. I'm trying to think in my mind. With Taurus, we're looking at from the third house. So, Uranus is in that third house. I'd have to think about it a little bit of how that could play itself out. Unless it's something like you meet somebody at a Christmas party and you get introduced by one of your siblings, which can be the third house, or a neighbor, and it's like love at first sight. I would think of Uranus as just this almost random but sudden kind of attraction, if you will. On the 28th, we have Mercury going into Capricorn, so joining the Sun and joining, what else is there at that time? Probably that's it, maybe, yeah. And, of course, no, that isn't it. There's Jupiter, there's Pluto, there's Saturn, there's South Node. And this is like a very emphasized area going into 2020. You've already had this area emphasized for you, Cancer. And because you are the opposite sign, this is quite significant for Cancers. And this is one of the main reasons I think a lot of Cancers have gone through a major shift. And, in the last several years, the fact that Saturn and then the South Node went into that house may have really tipped it over the edge in terms of, like, let's say, a troubled marriage. I know somebody personally, and just years and years married, and that's it. And it's like, it blew my mind. I just couldn't believe it. But in a weird way, it was a wake-up call to understand that you may see somebody that and think, wow, they have the perfect marriage, they have the perfect life. not knowing what is really going on behind the scenes. Everybody can, have a few moments where they're laughing and they are even laughing with their partner, and then have a lot of misalignment, coldness, and all those other things. Doesn't make them phony, those two people phony, if they're, putting on a good show. They may be trying to work things out, but it's been brutal because of the Saturn, that kind of really added to it. Pluto is transformative and very intense, but Saturn is very exacting and is like no BS. So South Node, it might just have been perhaps a lot of cancers were relying too much on, maybe they're too codependent, and you guys have had to really own up to your own path right now. I think that's a big, big part of it too, because you have the North Node in your sign still. So emphasizing the self rather than the partnership has been the thing that you really feel like you must do. And that has other consequences. With Mercury in this seventh house, you may be signing some kind of contract. You may be, if there's a court case, you may have to testify, and you're, giving your 2 cents or your testimony. This could be a time when you're really talking to your partner. If you're still coupled, you may be just really talking more than you have in a long time. And that can be enough to save the relationship. It's not, I would never meant to give the impression that all Cancer people who are coupled are at risk of losing their relationship. No, that's not what I mean. I'm just talking about for the ones that were struggling, these transits can make it worse. But the thing is, that's life, right? For instance, before I came down with whatever I got, flu or cold or both, I had to have a weakened immune system at some point for it to actually go down the way it did. There are viruses everywhere. You're not always catching them. You only catch them at certain times. So it's really about the individual. It's not about the environment as much as it is the individual's everything. Not only it's their thoughts, their emotions, their diet, their everything, their sleep patterns, if they're self-care, taking care of themselves. So the same thing applies with relationships, and you can't blame these outer forces, even astrology. If something's weakened and then it has challenging aspects to it, yeah, it might actually create more stress for it. But the origin of it came from the two people involved, not anything else. So that's how I see it. Okay, that's what I have for you, Cancer. I hope you have a great rest of December. If you would like a look at 2020 or any other type of reading I offer, please click the link below. It does have a reading that I'm promoting that's specifically, about 2020, but if you click on that link, it will take you to my website and you can see other types of readings I offer. Take care. Bye.